Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lily and today I'm going to demonstrate a few common measurements to help when reselling your items. Measurements are really important when you're reselling your items to ensure that the buyer is going to like the fit of the item and just to see if it's to the description. For example, taking a pair of jeans that fit you really well, taking those measurements and matching them to the measurements of the item you want to buy, and then you have a higher possibility that that item that you are ordering is going to work better for you. It also gives the seller protection if the buyer is to open a case about it, because if you have your measurements posted, they can't dispute it and you have a higher possibility of winning the case on Poshmark, which is helpful. And a lot of times buyers will ask about measurements, so it kind of gets the work out of the way earlier and they probably won't ask that question. When measuring tops, dresses, and jeans, or any piece of clothing that you have, it's best to use a fabric measuring tape and a flat surface. And you're going to want to put your item on the flat surface and spread it out so it's nice and flat. Measuring dresses and tops are very similar. There's a few similar measurements that you're going to use for both of them. One of the most common ones is the bust or chest measurement. This one you are going to measure from armpit to armpit seam, and you take measurement straight across. Another common measurement, the length, and you're going to do this from shoulder seam to bottom hem. It's important to specify where you're measuring for the length because some people may go from the outer, so just to make sure that the buyer is on the same page. Here I would say the neck, shoulder seam down to the bottom hem, just so the buyer's aware. Another way to measure length is to flip the dress over. And also I would specify that you're doing this slightly differently from center back all the way down to the bottom hem. In dresses, waist and hip measurements can also be important if the buyer is asking about these. These are a little bit more tricky because they don't follow a specific seam most of the time. You most of the time have to figure out where they're going to fit on the body itself. And on this dress it's a little easier to see because there is a seam going across. I'm going to go from one end straight across to the other. Looks like we're right around 15 inches. Measuring pants and jeans is slightly different from measuring tops and dresses. I tend to focus on 3 measurements when I'm adding measurements into the listings. I like to include the waist measurement, the rise, and the inseam. There's also an outer seam measurement, but this one is a little less commonly asked for than the inseam. So first I start with the waist measurement. So first you're going to go right across the top of the waist from corner to corner. The next measurement that I like to include is the rise, and this tells the buyer how high up the pants are going to go on their waist. You have low, mid, and high rise. To measure the rise, you're going to go from the top of the front right here down to the crotch seam. And then the final measurement that I like to include for pants is the inseam, and this is the most common measurement to show the length of jeans. So the inseam is measured from the same crotch seam that we just used for the rise down to the bottom hem. Another measurement that a buyer might ask you for but is less common than the inseam is the outseam. And so the outseam is going to be very similar. Instead of measuring this seam, you're going to be measuring the outer seam. So for that one, you would go from here down to the bottom. So it's obviously going to be a little bit longer than the inseam. Common measurements when measuring shoes include the heel height and the sole if the buyer asks. They may also ask at the insole, but that's not as common. So when measuring the heel height, you're going to take your measuring tape and you're going to put the top at the very top of the heel. It's not at the top of the sole, but it's at the top of the heel. And you're just going to measure it from the highest point down to the bottom. And it looks like on these, for example, it's going to be just a little bit less than 3.5 inches. Okay, and then to measure the sole of the shoe, it's best to put it on a flat surface. Take your measuring tape. You're going to go from the very end to end. So for example, these are about 9 inches. So those are the measurements that I like to include in my listings when reselling items. Thank you so much for watching this video. I have a new video coming out soon about what I sold on Poshmark in a week, and so I'm pretty excited about that. If you want to see that and more reseller content, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to answer or just to say hi. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.